Hi, my name is Dennis Schulman, and I've been a math teacher and SAT instructor and private tutor for 40 years. I've worked with so many students, and I'm looking forward to working with more students to work on what they need to improve in math in high school, math in middle school, and SAT prep, and in ACT tests, and other tests too. It really boils down to a few things. The most important work that I do with students, well, first of all, to be effective as a teacher and to be effective as a tutor, it takes a good understanding of all the math concepts and a way to connect with students so that they enjoy the class, so that they understand the concepts in an easy manner, and so that they're motivated to work on their own and building up confidence so that they know they can learn it well and understand it. You know, a lot of students say, I don't like math. But what they don't like is not understanding it. Because when they understand it well, they tend to enjoy it. And so I like to help them in their understanding. And a couple of the ways I do that is by, first of all, working on fundamental skills, on mental arithmetic, and problem-solving skills. Those are the most important, to me, the most important foundational skills to really improve your performance in math through elementary school, middle school, high school, and on tests for college admission. So I've been doing mental math exercises with students for many years, and they find that they're fun. I'm not surprised anymore, but I always have, when I start working with a student, I check to see what their skills are with arithmetic, what their number sense is. Because without a good number sense, it's really difficult to be successful in math at this level. And so we do a lot of mental math exercises. And of course, at first, students say, I can't do that, and I can't do that. And the simplest things they say they can't do, like 35 and 50, or 35 and 52. And we build up so that they can do much more than that. But at first, they say they can't do it. And so we work on it, and we show how much fun it is. Now, here's a couple of examples where number sense really comes into play in math. Factoring is a topic that they do in Algebra 1, and I guess in pre-algebra they start doing it too. In Algebra 1, in Algebra 2, in geometry, in precalculus, you're always doing factoring. And how many times do I work with students, on SAT prep or in their math classes, and their factoring skills are very weak. Sometimes they say, oh, I learned how to do this, but I don't remember. Well, that gets into this whole idea of why don't they remember things they learn? Usually they don't remember them because they didn't really learn them well in the first place. And then you're asking them on tests to do things that they learned 2 years ago. And again, they didn't learn it well in the first place. And so factoring is a matter of really understanding how to multiply and add numbers quickly and accurately. And then it becomes easy. It doesn't take a technique. It doesn't take a formula. It just takes working with numbers. And so as they get more fluent and more comfortable with doing mental arithmetic, they can become much more successful in factoring. A girl I worked with just a couple of weeks ago got over 700 in math. In her SAT, she got over 1,500. And when I worked with her on a practice test, one of the questions she had trouble with was a division question. And on the SAT, there's one section where you can't use a calculator. This was a simple division question from the 4th grade. And she didn't remember how to do it. So even on the SAT now, it's critical to know how to do math without a calculator. And, like I said, in factoring, even though you have the use of a calculator, if you can't do it without a calculator, it's going to take you much longer, and it's going to be much more difficult, and you're not going to enjoy it. Okay, another example that I have of something I do with students is simplifying radicals. That's another topic from algebra. Many of them don't remember how to simplify radicals. So I give them a little way to remember it. Like, let's say you'd have the square root of 27. So first of all, we talk about breaking down a number, which is prime factoring. Again, a lot of students don't seem to know that. This is something that everybody needs to learn before high school to be successful in various math topics, including simplifying radicals. So first we go over, factor trees or staircases, ways to simply break down numbers. And then you break down the square root of 27 into 3 times 3 times 3. And then I tell a little story. You have these 3's that are stuck. They're in prison underneath the square root sign. And the only way to get out is if you have a pair of matching 3's, 2 of the same kind. When you have 2 of the same kind, together they can escape from underneath the radical, but alas, only one survives. So you have 1 3 on the outside, and then you have the 1 3 on the inside that did not have a pair. So that's 3 root 3. You tell them a story like this, they're not going to forget it. Simplifying radicals will become simple, and it's something they'll remember. Another very foundational topic is decimals, fractions, percents. Fractions is always something that students have trouble in. When I taught precalculus at a high school, I realized that it wasn't the trigonometry that was giving students the most trouble. It was fractions. They don't really understand fractions that well. And if you don't, how are you going to work with fractions in trigonometry, in algebra? If you have 1 over x plus 1 over x plus 1, and you have to add them together, this is something that's common on the SAT. Algebraic functions with algebraic expressions with fractions. Well, they're not sure what to do. They don't even think sometimes of common denominators. And if they do, can they find a common denominator? Do they understand what common denominators are? Not that well. And so that is going to be a problem. In algebra, it's going to be a problem on the SAT. So we talk about what they are and how to find them. And then, of course, they can do this a lot better. So there's a lot of that foundational work that is the most important for success in high school and success on the SAT. Along with that, there is work on problem solving and problem solving skills. And they don't really learn this very well in school. It's not a focus of most school subjects. Most teachers don't really focus on that. So we focus on that for the SAT because it's critical. And we talk about plugging in numbers. It used to be very important on SAT tests. It's a little bit less important now, but it's still extremely important. And I used to begin my classes. I used to have large classes twice a year at various locations, at hotel meeting rooms and churches and all at schools, many schools I taught at. And I'd start my class by saying plug in numbers, and I'd end my class by saying plug in numbers. It used to be used a lot on SAT tests. And like I said, it's still important. And it's something that some students do it naturally, or maybe they've had a teacher who went over it with them, but most students do not. And so these are the kinds of skills that we build to be successful on the SAT. And I've had a lot of success working with students. I've had students go to the best schools in the country, to Harvard, Yale, MIT, Cornell, Stanford, Duke. And last year I had a student I worked with on the ACT, because I also do ACT prep. And he got a 29 on the ACT, and after I worked with him for a little while, he was able to get his score up to 35, and he got a full scholarship to Johns Hopkins to study medical research. So I've had a lot of success. A lot of students get into the best schools, and I've worked with students at every level, from the top, the students getting perfect scores and close to perfect scores, to a much lower level. And as long as they're willing to work, and as long as their foundation is okay, then they can improve a lot through practice and through a teacher really explaining to them the skills they need to learn. So I look forward to working with more students, maybe your student, and thank you for listening to my introduction. Bye.